from the sky. It's just another story. It's man-made life. They tell us how you fell from the sky.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, I am Clay Douglas, and my guest today is my Friday guest, MeSah, spiritual medium, and we're going to be talking about strange happenings. How are you doing, MeSah? MeSah, can you hear me? Hello.
Hi, Clayton. You're breaking up quite a bit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm sorry about that. It should...
I can't hear you now.
All right, let me call you right back. That might help.
Maybe. Let's go with that. See what happens.
All right, turn off your video because I don't. I don't have video on this.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, can you hear me better? Can you hear me better now?
I think so. I think so.
All right.
Let's try it.
All right, we're trying to do this.
Now I can't hear. I'm not getting anything.
All right, let me call you right back on a different computer.
Okay. Okay.
All right, is that any better, dear?
I think so. Do you want me to keep my video on, or do you want me to turn it off?
I would turn it off. That way we've got more of a channel here, and
okay.
we are recording on a number of things here.
Okay.
So we're up on YouTube. My guest today is MeSah. She is billed as a spiritual medium, and her links to her site are up on my right below her name. And today we're going to be talking about strange happenings. Now, you brought something up, a subject up to me that was pretty bizarre. Now, we've been talking about bizarre things. We talked about the Orion conspiracy, and we've talked about the Jewish conspiracy yesterday. And, the fact that there is evil, evil in this world. And you brought up a subject I'm not familiar with. I haven't been following. You have, so I'll rely on you to give me the information here. But you have said people disappeared. People were disappearing, and I brought up something that I've been researching about scopolamine. Scopolamine is a drug they use in Colombia. And basically, you can walk up to they make it into a powder almost like cocaine. And they can walk up to somebody and simply blow it in their face. And it destroys their free will. In other words, a person can tell them, well, let's go over to the ATM and open that ATM up and take all your money out and give it to me. And they'll do that. It's the world's scariest drug. It's called devil's breath. Now, I do have a short film on that we can play later on into the conversation. But you said, you know, that's you agreed with me that that's pretty scary, but these people that are disappearing, you tell me they are just vanishing in thin air in front of people, in front of witnesses. Tell me about that particular thing. I haven't even heard of that.
I've been listening to a David Paulides, I believe is his name.
Hang on just a second. Hold on just a second here. Let me switch these speakers around. I think that's a better speaker. Now, go ahead.
Okay. This gentleman, David Paulides, I hope I'm saying his name right, has been researching this for years. And these are happening, a lot of them in national parks or on the edge of national parks or government lands or things like that. Although there have been some that have been in different locales. One famous case he talks about is a family out picnicking, and the kids were playing hide and seek, and he watches his son go behind a bush, which was maybe like, 30 feet away from him, and the son never comes out, and the son has disappeared totally. It's typical of these cases. There's no traces, nothing, no clothing, no footprint, just gone. They never found the kid.
Now wait, hold on just a second. You said the son disappeared while witnesses were looking at this family?
Yeah, there was several kids playing hide and seek. The little boy goes behind a bush, very close to his father. That's the last anybody ever sees of him. No trace. There's he talks about several other cases where the same thing happens. No clothing is found, so it's not like they're getting dragged off. There's no footprint, no clothing, nothing. There's a case where 2 children disappeared very, very in the same area, very close time-wise to each other. A year later, they are found on a hill, dead, laying next to each other. Another case where somebody was nabbed, they were hiking, and this person was in front of the other people, and they go over a little rise, and all of a sudden that person is gone. Now, a few times these people are found, not very often, but they're always dazed. They can't tell you where they've been or what happened. One person was found with his clothes on him turned inside out, which, by the way, is a very common UFO thing. I've researched where people have been abducted and returned, and when they're returned, their clothes are inside out. It's like somebody tried to dress them but didn't really understand how the clothes were supposed to go. Once in a while that will happen, but the people never have any idea what happened to them. No memory, nothing. But most often they're not found. They're just gone. It's like they disappear out of thin air. Now the gentleman that's doing the research has researched what the national parks are doing about this, and in a couple of cases, Green Berets were brought in. They immediately, of course, start a search. So you've got, maybe hundreds of people looking for the missing person, and it's not always children, by the way, it's adults also. So you have all these people looking for the person. A couple of instances they brought in, I think it was Green Berets or something like that, to search, and they always stayed away from the other searchers, did their own search, never came up with anything. And the national parks a lot of times say, well, gee, we just don't know, and we can't keep doing this, and so this researcher says that there's not a lot of government backup for this kind of thing. It's very bizarre, really, really bizarre. And in one case, there were some people hiking, and way in front of them, they saw a dark shape carrying something over their shoulder, hopping from one behind one tree to another tree, but that was never followed up. Bizarre stuff. The theories about it are maybe it's an animal, some kind of unknown animal, but if it was an animal, you would see tracks, or you would hear something. Some people are saying maybe it's Bigfoot, but again, you would see tracks. Bigfoot, I understand, has quite a odor to it. So if you're around the Bigfoot, you can smell it. Nobody ever reports anything like that. Nobody reports seeing UFOs, although to me these kinds of disappearances are pretty much in accord with a lot of UFO abductees, what they say, and what witnesses say about that.
Now, there has been a lot of experimentation and talk about the Montauk area of New York, the disappearance of the destroyer that was teleported back into time, and the Stargate rumors are abound all over. They've got doorways built into the side of a mountain down in South America that don't go anywhere. It's just a doorway carved out like it had something in there at one time, and the whole Stargate Operation Phoenix from probably Area 51, Dulce, New Mexico, is running pretty rampant. But is it possible just somebody just came by and said, let's beam them up, Scotty?
I think it's very possible. I think it's absolutely possible, and to me it's the most plausible explanation, because what I've researched about this stuff, the Stargate stuff and time travel, is it's still going on, and they would still be, needing people to experiment with, and that the methods that they've used have gotten much more sophisticated. So it seems to me like that would be the most plausible answer. It's interesting that it's around certain locations. There's been quite a few disappearances in Yosemite. I'm trying to think of some of the other places. Glacier. The more out of the way national parks seem to be targets for these kinds of things. Some locations that are on the edge of national parks, not so much in the cities. It's rural areas or wilderness areas, that kind of thing. And now, interestingly enough, to go along with this, if you go into the jungles, like if you go down into South America or Africa, go into the jungles, people are always warned not to wear bright colors. You don't wear a yellow shirt or an orange shirt or a bright red shirt, because historically people that are dressed like that disappear. They never come back. I don't know what that is, but the natives will tell somebody, don't wear bright colors if you're going into the jungle. I don't know if that's connected or not. This is all very kind of murky stuff. Nobody seems to have real connections. But I agree with you, Clayton. I think the most logical explanation is the time travel portals and people are being nabbed for whatever reason.
Well, if they've got time travel, and the reports that I'm getting are that when George Bush was a kid, George Bush Sr. was or Jr. rather, Jr. was a kid, he was running around at a meeting or something saying, my daddy's going to be president, and I'm going to be president too. And
that's right. I sent you that information.
Yes, ma'am.
I was told that by somebody that was in a restaurant when that was happening.
And if the time travel is possible, they've also been experimenting, and some information has come out on it that it's possible to teleport also.
Yes.
So You know, the whole beam me up Scotty could be based in fact.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially, and now what we just did the other day, I don't know if you got a chance to see it. I've got it up on my site. I've got links up on the site to it, to the Orion conspiracy. We did shows.
I watched that.
And you know, that seems pretty accurate. There was one point that you didn't agree with, so I'd like to discuss that with you. They seem to what they seem to be saying, and it's kind of what I have written about 45 years ago, is that these people look just like us. They've been around for thousands of years, and maybe they even live for 1,000 years, because biblically the patriarchs Methuselah, Abraham did live to be, you know, 1,000 years old, hundreds of years old.
Right.
So how does that all figure in?
Well, you know, the patriarchs of the Bible lived for so long because they had the silver cord that is coming down from the Godhead that really keeps us alive. It comes down through the top of the head, it anchors in our heart, and it feeds us that spiritual energy, which is what keeps us alive. Remember the old, I don't know if you remember, there's an old song called The Breaking of the Silver Cord or something like that. When the silver cord breaks, when you pass on, that cord is broken, so the physical body cannot continue to survive. Well, in man now, that cord is very tiny. It's maybe half an inch to an inch wide. But in those days, the patriarchs of the Bible, it was very, very large. They were getting a huge amount of energy from the divine source, and they could live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. That cord was shortened, was narrowed, when man started misusing his energy so much and making so much karma that it was barium. So that cord was narrowed so that mankind would not have the power to do that, so that he could continue on his journey, because otherwise he was just going to bury himself in karma and he wouldn't be able to even exist. That's my take on that. Now the Orion film talked about the UFOs being government, etc., etc. I don't agree with that. Now I know that in Atlantis they did have flying machines. That's nothing new. That information has been out there for many, 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 many years. And I have no doubt that they have uncovered some of these. But the alien influence goes back to before Atlantis. I truly believe that we do have alien influence. There are extraterrestrials. They've been here for eons. There's many, many different races. They are very involved in our government. In governments around the world. Some of them have been doing a lot of genetic manipulation. There are hybrids on this planet and other planets. There's all kinds of things going on. I don't believe it's just the government. Now the governments, I'm sure, are using all of this. And you know, Hitler was one that was so interested in things of this nature because he wanted the power. You know, he looked for the sword that pierced Christ's eye because he felt like it would give him unlimited power and that kind of thing. But I just feel like, yes, there is alien influence. They pretty much have free reign in North America anyway in terms of who they abduct, who they don't abduct. They are doing genetic manipulation like they have for eons and eons and eons. My spiritual information says these bodies we're in were not what was originally intended. We have been messed with. And the Bible, I think, refers to some of that in the book of Enoch and such things. But it's been going on for so long. I don't think it's just all a government conspiracy, although I think that's part of it. that's part of it.
The governments have definitely been compromised, and the show I did yesterday, we talked about, it's really pretty simple. There's good and there's evil, and if you're trying to control, rip off, and steal from everybody, you fall into the evil category. But now, I believe that I think it would be egotistical and short-sighted of us to believe we're the only ones. There's got to be other races, other intelligence, and probably other gods out there.
Well, I agree. I mean, the universe is so vast that it's incredible to think that we would be the only form of life in all of the universe. That isn't even rational, I don't think.
Of course, a lot of people may not agree with my estimation, but according to the locations of the pyramids and the civilizations that were more advanced than us, I think we might have been colonized and genetically engineered to by interstellar drug dealers.
Well, I wouldn't. That certainly could be.
Well, what's more valuable than gold? What's more valuable than gold? Oh, cocaine, heroin, by weight. And if you're traveling interstellarly, maybe you want to get the most bang for your buck. Maybe they were dealing in cocaine or heroin or that type of thing. All of the pyramids and all the signs of ancient civilizations are still, in the prime dope growing areas. But
that's pretty
and the evidence is really coming out that they've used us as miners.
Yeah.
And the gold on this planet. I mean, this is the only planet it's found on. The gold. Matter of fact, yesterday, if you go to listen to the show yesterday, I played a track from Jim Mars talking about the farmer in Arizona that found this substance on his property, and basically it was a white powder. Analyzed it, turned out to be white gold, a form of gold. But when they tried to weigh it, the scale was lighter. The tray on the scale was lighter than when they put it before they put it on there.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I'm talking about the white powder gold, which is a very interesting substance.
Monatomic gold is what they call it.
Monatomic gold, and there's several other monatomic elements also. And they're talking about how the monatomic gold will, what it does with the DNA, and how it will change the DNA. And have you ever taken it, Clayton?
No.
I have.
You've taken the monatomic gold?
Yes. I did it a few years ago, and then recently I've been doing it again because I went through a period of time where my astral body and my physical body were not communicating. There was some kind of tear between the two, and I was directed to take the monatomic gold, which took care of that situation. It repaired that situation. So
the Jim Mars speculates that this is possibly the reason, the substance that was causing the longevity in the biblical folks, and he also speculates that it could have been the manna from heaven that was sent down to feed the Israelites as they were walking in the desert for 40 years.
Could have been. I don't know that it will keep someone alive for hundreds of years, because I think that gets into the issue of karma. when we come into a life, we basically come into it with a certain amount of time, a karmic lifeline. And when that's done, we go on, we move on out of this physical incarnation. Karma is such a big factor, and I'm not sure that any physical substance will deny the workings of karma. However, I've also heard about the yogis who will take a lot of what they call black earth. I'm not real familiar with what that is, but that it will extend their life to some degree. And there are some yogis that have been on the planet for a couple of hundred years. There's one of them that shows up at the Kumbh Mela, which is the big spiritual festival in India. I think it's every 12 years or every 10 years, doesn't happen very often. And he's been alive for at least 200 years. And recorded, they know this. And somebody asked him, well, how do you live so long? And he said, well, it's easy. I just recite the name of God all the time. That was what he said. But I think that, generally speaking, we have to take into account the law of karma that we all deal with. We talk about these evil things that are happening, and the law of karma is very, very exact. Whatever it is you're putting out, eventually that energy goes out, rolls around the universe, gathers more of the same, and lands back on your doorstep. We don't always see that with people that are doing evil. But that law is exact, and it may not hit them even in this life. Maybe 2 or 3 lives down the road. That old thing about why do good people have bad things happen? That's karma returning. That's something that's some energy that they put out there at some point that has now come back and landed on their doorstep. And if it's from a different life, we look at that and go, well, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't understand. But it's finding us, and then we have to deal with it. And if we deal with it righteously, we release that karma, and it's gone. If we deal with it unrighteously, we add more to it, goes back out into the universe, gathers more of the same. It's going to land on our doorstep at some time, someplace, somewhere down the line. So I don't know about getting beyond the karmic law of longevity. I'm not sure how that would work, or if it would work. But there does seem to be benefits around these monatomic elements. And I know for me that it solved my problem. And I don't know what else it would do, but I'm glad it was there when I needed this.
Now, I've had a product line. I'll try to get it back up again when I get advertising, or when I get set up for it. But a biochemist made some products, minerals. They were the trace minerals, contained a lot of trace minerals. But one of the additions to it, one of the minerals that they had, she had to get from prehistoric plants, prehistoric plant life. And it was called fulvic acid.
Yeah.
And this, it rebuilt cellular damage. I've also got research that says